When Bethel had accepted his marriage proposal, the couple planned such a move. She had been as eager as he was. Then her mother fell ill and deeded the farm to her son and daughter in anticipation of death. The wedding and other plans were deferred because Bethel was reluctant to leave her dying mother. This was home. She had grown up here. Her father was buried in this ground, and it was likely that her mother soon would be. Now that Bethel owned half interest in the place, she no longer discussed leaving. That her cross-grained brothers shared ownership was Andy's hard luck. At the time, Farley was recuperating from a wound suffered in ranger service on the border, so Andy had agreed to stay and help. He worked for foreman's wages, hopeful that Bethel would sooner or later come back around to his way of thinking. Lately, that hope was wearing thin. Farley seemed now to have recovered from the latest of many injuries, major and minor, to which he seemed especially prone. He had reverted to the same cranky misfit he had been before. Andy told him, "We'd get the planning done faster if you'd pitch in and help. You could take the east field." Farley shook his head. "Can't. Gotta go to town and get some stuff for Teresa." "Write me a list and I'll go in your place," Andy said. "I ain't sure you can read any better than you can plow a straight row. Never did see an Indian that could be taught how to farm." There he goes with that Indian thing again, Andy thought. He wasn't an Indian, but Comanches had captured him when he was a small boy and kept him several years. Farley harbored a strong dislike for Indians. Frequently he threw Andy's old Comanche name up to him. "You're letting that mule get almost as lazy as you are, Badger boy. Him and you had better get back to work." Andy prided himself on being able to get along with most people, but for years his relationship with Farley Brackett had swung back and forth between uneasy tolerance and outright hostility. Necessity had forced them to ride together as rangers. Andy's betrothal to Farley's sister had joined them again, however reluctantly, on the Brackett farm. He'd wanted to show her he could be a responsible husband and settle down to the tranquil life of a farmer. By now he'd concluded that it would never be tranquil so long as he had to deal with Farley. Turning the mule around, he roughly pushed the plow point into the ground and started another row. Farley was still talking, but Andy let the words drift away unanswered on the wind. He was saying a few words of his own. He'd often wondered why a woman so pretty and so gentle in nature should be saddled with such a brother. He tried to take into account that Farley had endured hardships enough to sour any man. He bore a war scar on his face and hidden scars deep within. His brothers had died fighting the Yankees. He and Bethel had lost their father to partisan violence that continued after the war. Farley had made himself a scourge to Union Reconstruction authorities and to state police who tried to enforce their edicts. His wildness had been both asset and liability during his later service as a ranger. Andy had long tried to accord him the benefit of the doubt. He realized Farley had abundant reason for being angry at most of the world, but sympathetic understanding was hard to maintain when he made himself so damned disagreeable. The sun sank behind clouds low in the west, turning them to orange flame. The last few rows were no straighter than those before, but the hell with it. Farley could do them over if he was dissatisfied. Andy wearily laid the plow on its side and unhitched the mule. The lagging animal picked up new energy when it realized it was going to the barn for feed and rest. Andy laid up the leather harness in the barn and fed the mule in a trough hewn from the trunk of a tree. Farley was brushing the roan. He offered no conversation, but his eyes smoldered.